Look, I'm not sure which one's harder. Starting a YouTube channel about running or starting a distance running journey, but we'll see how we go. So in this video, I'm going to provide 5 tips for all new runners of how to start your running journey safely and then progress that into the future and beyond. So let's get it. Let's do it. So before the first tip, I'm just going to make an assumption here that if you're watching this video, you have some sort of running goal, whether that's to run 5K, run 10K half marathon or a marathon. If you've got a goal in mind, that's perfect and it'll set you on your way to whatever running goal you want to achieve. Tip number 1, start off with run and walks if you can't run continuously for that long. So what does that mean? Well, to be able to talk the talk, you need to be able to run and walk. Basically, if you can't run continuously for 15 to 20 minutes, then you should start off with run and walk sessions. You should start your running training by separating your sessions into periods where you'll run and then take a walk break to help safely increase your running workload, particularly in the early stages where we're trying to build our volume safely. We'll run for a certain period, so it might be 2 minutes running and then have 2 minutes rest. And then we might do this 5 times in a session so we get about 10 minutes of total running time. The idea of this over time is to build up that total running time and hopefully decrease that rest to, again, safely build that workload going forward. Basically, we want to do this until we can run for 15 to 20 minutes continuously, and then at that point, we can graduate and do all our sessions in a continuous fashion. An easy example of this could be running 3 times per week where you'll do 5 sets of 2 minutes running and 2 minutes of walk recovery. So that's about a 20-minute session all up where you'll get 10 minutes of running in there. And then you can graduate that further. So you could build up those running sets to about 3 to 4 minutes each time, and you might do 4 sets of that. Conversely, you might start lower than that. You might do 5 to 8 sets of 1 minute runs and 1 minute walk recoveries as well. So there's more flexibility there to tailor and manipulate that to where you are. Basically, again, though, as we progress further along, though, we want to try and improve or bump up that running time and reduce that rest time. And then once we can get close to, say, 10 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes, that's when we can look to start doing some continuous efforts. However, there's other alternatives as well. So Arthur Lydiard, the great running coach, suggested if you're starting out, you can do out and back runs from home where you might start out, you might run 2 minutes out from your house and then run 2 minutes back. And again, you could build this up. So you might go 5 minutes out, 5 minutes back, and then 15 minutes out, 15 minutes back as well. So you can do that as well 3 to 4 times a week as well if that's a better option for you. Again, over time, you just want to safely and slowly build up that running time. Tip number 2, which is my favorite, run for time and don't run for distance. This is a common mistake that people make because they'll follow an online training program which tells them to run for X amount of kilometers, but it's actually putting them at a disadvantage, and we'll tell you why. So why is running for distance problematic? Well, runners can complete a set distance in a wide variety of time depending on their ability. So for example, I might be told to run a 5-kilometer session on a particular day, which might take me 20 minutes. Another runner might be told to complete the same session and it takes them 30 minutes. Now, there's only a difference in, say, 10 minutes in this instance, but if our whole program's set upon running certain distances, then the slower runner is going to be at a disproportionate disadvantage compared to the faster runner on every run because they take longer to complete a set distance compared to the faster runner, which may put them at a greater injury risk disproportionate to where their running ability is at that current point. Running for a set time is gold when you're starting out because it allows you to better monitor, maintain, and manipulate your training volume when you're first starting out compared to distance. Running for time also helps you to reduce any ego associated with how fast you're running, how far, or whatever. As soon as you've done your 30 minutes, your 20-minute session, whatever it is, you're done, that's it. Additionally, it's also an easy way to track your progress as well. So if you're doing regular 20 or 30-minute runs, and over time, and as the weeks accumulate, you'll see that you're probably running for greater distances within that 20 to 30 minutes anyway. So again, it's a good indication of progress going forward. For example, early on, you might run for 20 minutes. You might only cover 3 to 4K in that time, but then over time, what might happen is you start getting closer to 4.5K, 5K, whatever it might be. So again, you can see that gradual natural improvement by just running and setting a standardized time to run to. So tip number 3, as a beginner, run at slow paces when you're just starting out. Basically, run at a pace where you can still run your mouth. That's my favorite quote and probably my favorite tip throughout this video. So don't worry about 80-20 rules when you're first starting out where you have to do 80% of your runs at slow intensities and then 20% at high. I would do all of them at slow intensities where you can still maintain a conversation with someone or at least be able to talk in full sentences. So simply speaking, I would recommend that your runs are comfortably below 80 to 85% of your maximum heart rate. And I say this for a good reason in that it's usually pace that derails people early on. So if you're running too fast too soon, then that's going to be the thing that fatigues you and then can lead to extensive muscle soreness and potentially a greater injury risk. So basically, the higher the intensity you work at, the greater the recovery you're going to need. And particularly early on, when you haven't established your aerobic system, which needs work, then that's going to be harder for it to recover from and potentially take longer recovery times as well. So, and the thing you need to get across, and the thing people need to understand, is that when you're starting out and you're running slow, it does seem counterintuitive, as if, how's this going to improve me, or how's this going to make me fitter? But it actually is. So you running slow early on still has extensive aerobic benefits that's going to help you get better as a runner and become more efficient and become faster anyway. So just because you're not running or you're huffing and puffing, you'll still get quite impressive aerobic development when you're first starting out, which is going to help you once you progress and graduate to the higher intensity running anyway. But when you're starting out, just focus on jogging and completing the runs at a nice, comfortable intensity. So the easiest test to dictate your intensity: can I talk in full sentences? Can I talk and have a conversation with someone? If you can, then that's generally the right way to go. So tip number 4, do regular strength work. Please don't avoid the gym as an endurance runner. So the two main benefits of strength training include an increase in your body's running economy, which is basically the efficiency to run at a particular pace. So your body gets stronger, so it makes it easier to run at certain paces. And then your body's durability, basically. So having a stronger body or becoming stronger will help you handle pounding the pavement for weeks on end. So as an endurance runner, injuries, niggles, they always happen. So being stronger is going to help you to be more resilient against that. So when we think of a running strength program, what would that look like? Well, traditional lifts such as your squats, deadlifts, and thrusts, they do have a place in a run and strength program, absolutely. But then you can think about things such as plyometrics, single exercises, core work as well. That all is a staple. So ideally, you'd probably want to be doing strength training at least 1 to 2 times per week. If you have to do prehab or rehab exercises, then that may be more frequently for you. So a session that includes a main lift, some basic plyometrics, a couple of single leg exercises, and some calf angle work, as well as some core, is a really good foundation which will set you up going forward. And also, completing gym sessions won't make you too bulky or too heavy. I wish it was that simple that you go a couple of times a week and become absolutely jacked, but it's not happening as well. So as long as you do strength work, particularly if, say, from 5 to 8 reps, then you should be pretty good for most exercises. Tip number 5, film yourself running. What do you look like when you run? Now, this might be a bit of a weird tip for people, but I think it's important early on that you try and film yourself running to see what it actually looks like when you run, so you can track your progress and track things later on. So when you're first starting out, I'd recommend that you get someone to film you or get a tripod and film from front on, back on, and then both sides as well. So important that you do both sides, because there can be some differences or imbalances between the left and the right side. So ideally, we want to get a baseline of where you're at, and then if there's any problems that arise or if there's anything you need to review, then you have this stored so you can refer back to. Alternatively, if you don't have the option, you don't really want to film yourself, then go see a running coach. So go see someone who specializes in maybe form or technique or whatever it might be, so they can help you identify things that may become problematic later on. So if you can identify things that may be bad habits or things that you can improve, then this may help you save time later on and avoid trips to the physio as well. So if you can identify the things you need to work on early, you can do that and hopefully reduce your injury risk and prolong your durability going forward. Oh, look out, we've got a bonus tip here. This is how well I think I'm going. We've got a bonus tip I'm going to provide you just for nothing, just because I'm a good bloke. Be careful with the running shoes that you buy. Now, specifically here, I'm talking about carbon-plated racing shoes for beginners. So a common pitfall I'm concerned about is people buying carbon-plated race shoes, which are the really fast shoes that you see people breaking records in, and wearing them way too often. Now, these sort of shoes should only be worn for your fast sessions during the week, which might be 1 to 2 sessions, but beginner runners might not understand that, and they may wear these more frequently than that. Potentially what can happen is these carbon-plated shoes can put your feet into compromising positions. Now, I'm going to say this very generally and very vaguely, particularly when you hit foot to ground, obviously, when your foot hits the ground, obviously. But I believe what can happen, which may happen later on, is that we might see some research coming out about the long-term effects of wearing these shoes, particularly for bone stress injuries, which may be stress fractures, shin splints, stuff like that, particularly the real lower limb areas. Now, I've seen a couple of papers that have come out which have linked athletes getting bone stress injuries from wearing carbon-plated shoes, which is unfortunate, but beginners need to be across that because you don't want to wear these shoes, pay a lot of money for them, and then be sidelined anyway. Personally, I have some experience with this as I did buy some carbon-plated race shoes and probably wore them too much and too often during the week, which did lead to some sort of bone stress injury, which put me out for a while. So I didn't understand at that point when I bought them that I probably shouldn't wear them all the time, and then as such, I did suffer from that, which put me out running for a while, which wasn't great. So if I'm a beginner early on, I'd suggest buying a consistent trainer that you can run in for most runs, and then once you get more experience and your training age increases, then I'd start to look at more specialized shoes for particular sessions. So that's my collection on top tips for beginner runners when you're first starting out. Hopefully there was something of value there for you. If I've missed anything or cocked anything up, then please let me know. I'm happy to hear any feedback, which I'm sure people have. But otherwise, happy running and make running great again. Yeah. Alternatively, Arthur Lydia. There's other. However, there's other alternative. Hey. Before. Oh. Whoa, don't run off now.